Hey guys, I'm back. 28 weeks later is a 2007 post-apocalyptic. 28 weeks later, you know the premise and the genre of what the movie is. But anyway, it is directed by Juan Carlos Fresnadillo. 6 months after the original epidemic, the rage virus has all annihilated the British population. Nevertheless, the U.S. Army declares American soldiers to arrive to restore order and begin reconstruction. Refugees return to British soil, but one of them carries a deadly secret. The virus is not gone, and it's even more dangerous than before. This movie shouldn't have been fucking made. I'm just going to go out and say it. We have the original 28 Days Later that had a lot of chemistry, had a lot of creativity, not just with the premise of the story and how the outbreak started. The outbreak of the original was amazing. It pulled me in and it dragged me into the point where I didn't just wanted to see how everything played out, but I cared about the characters and I wanted to see how everything was going to fall in place. The movie 28 Days Later, it had light problems, but at the same time, it was successful. Not just for a film that was post-apocalyptic, but at the same time, it was successful for all audiences as well. If you like horror, if you like thriller, if you like drama, and if you just like a good story, 28 Days Later does that in all aspects. I'm saying that because this movie, 28 Weeks Later, fails on all aspects. I feel like if you're going to do a sequel, you need to bring your A game. You need to do better than what you have done in the original. Improve things that was lacking. But to be fair, no one has asked for this to happen. No one has asked for 28 Weeks Later to shed light towards the industry and for us to watch. But unfortunately, it's here. And what do I think about it? It's like I mentioned, I don't think this movie should have came out, or at least been in the 28 Days Later genre. I think this should have been, it probably would have been a little successful. You know what? No. I think even if it was its own film and not even based on a 28 Days Later franchise, it still would fail. Because, well, let me focus on what the movie does right, because I feel like I'm bashing on the film already. Well, the film does right when it comes to the direct pacing in the beginning. When the movie starts, we're already on the edge of our seat. Like, when the movie starts, it gives us the beginning premise of the virus and how, like, the family is all barricaded in the house and we're just synced in, and like they show little character development, they show little dialogue. For me, it showed enough for me to care about the certain characters on to the beginning of the film, and then all hell breaks loose. And few of the survivors try to survive. Most of them died, and there was only one survivor left. But the tension was intense. Like, I was like, holy shit, like we're already getting pulled in. But it was just to show you how serious the virus was, how serious it would be if you was infected, and how long it takes for the virus to circulate. It showed all that in the beginning. And I thought that was fantastic. Now, to be fair, the original movie done that. But I feel like this new one has done it in a way where I think the second one done it better, in my opinion. It's debatable, but just watch it and then you will see what I'm talking about. But other than that, I believe that's all the film has done right. I feel like after that pulled me in with the creativity of the pacing, I feel like everything else has drawn down to the minimum, to the brim of the film's premise, of the character dialogue, the story, if there was a story, and just everything else. Now, what really pissed me off with the film is, even though I can't even call it an outbreak, it just showed you like how the house got overran with the infected. But the movie, like after that, the movie takes place when they're barricaded in Britain. And even though everything was secure, it won't be for too long, because apparently there has to be an outbreak happening. There has to be a breach with the security and with the army. but I did not like how it all happened. I felt like if it was more creative, if it was more well written, if it was more well paced, then I would have been bought in. But the way how it has taken place, it made me hate the whole film. And the reason why I hate the whole film is because a lot of horror films do this, where everything starts off great, everything starts off fantastic, and I don't mind things falling off. I don't mind things being a disaster. I want it to be successful. But the problem with a lot of horror films, thrillers, you name it, you call it, is that they dedicate the disaster to be held on teenagers that do dumb things or children. And you guys, if you watch my channel, if you watch my reviews on horror films that is dedicated with kids being led of disaster so they can drive plot, then you would know how I feel about that. And when 28 weeks later, they do this. They dedicate the disaster with two children who decides to leave the safe zone just so they can just wander around the whole city. They come across a certain person. I don't want to spoil too much, but then at the same time, when they get across this person, the army catches the kids and they bring that infected person, and then that's what caused all hell to break loose. If it wasn't for those kids, that wouldn't have happened. And thanks to those kids, everything falls completely apart. Everything is a disaster. And even though the tension was, I can't say good, but even though there was okay tension, even though there was some good kills. There was some good kills on 28 weeks later. That 28 days later was lacking because it was more focused on the dialogue and the chemistry. There's no problem there because I still think that 28 days later is very superior. I just feel like with the creative kills that they have done on 28 weeks later, the stuff that was given to you, I feel like if you snap out of why they're doing this in the first place and know that it was a kid's fault that has led to this destruction by all these innocents getting killed, people getting murdered, people getting infected, and like the whole place is just in ruin just because these two kids just would not act obedient enough, it makes you hate the characters. There was no character in the film that I thought that was better than the characters on the original. Not one character was better than Cillian Murphy. There was not one character that was better than any other character on the original. I mean, and it's sad because on the original was lacking characters, not characters, but actors and actresses that we know and we love that do great movies today. This new one has a lot of them. Like, for example, we have Don's character that is played by Robert Carly. And then you have Imogen Poots. You have Jeremy Renner, the guy that plays as Hawkeye. You have Idris Elba. And then you have the bitch that was in Bridesmaids. You have a lot of material. You have a lot of material in the film. So you would think that things would be in place, but it depends on the director and the writer and the producer. You can have good soldiers in your team, but if they're led to do a suicide mission, you see where I'm going with this? But that can also be debatable. But in what way? How? Name me one character in the new, name me one character in 28 weeks later that did something memorable, that did something that was worth a damn. I'll wait. After a stint in the hospital, a young woman returns to her house where her father killed the entire cast of The Artist during his exorcism. I'm looking at my next review. I'm planning on reviewing this comedy movie called 30 Nights of Paranormal Activity with the Devil Inside the Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. It's one of those scary movie ripoffs. I can't say it was a ripoff because it was actually a pretty damn good, funny movie. It was good when it comes to creativity of the humor. Y'all couldn't think of anything yet? Focus. Anyway, The reason why I said that this movie shouldn't have been made is because it's based on a 28 Days Later franchise. And I think that it was lacking the creativity of what 28 Days Later needed to improve. 28 Days Later was a great film, but I feel like if you're going to do, I'm talking in circles. I'm talking in circles. My point is, well, the film does do right when it comes to the thriller aspect. If you're going to watch 28 Weeks Later just so you can be on a thrilling aspect, just so you can be chilled and you can be pulled in, for a general audience, you're going to like this film. You're going to like the film, especially if you get fame struck by the actors and actresses that's on this film. But for the rest of us who loves movies, who loves horror, who loves, because my main genre is horror movies, horror and drama. That's a weird combination. I love drama movies and horror. But I just love movies that just have great chemistry when it comes to the character development. I feel like if the characters don't matter in the film, then I won't be pulled in with the premise of what they're trying to do and what they're trying to accomplish. 28 Weeks Later fails on that aspect. It really does. Unlike 28, wait, did I say 28 weeks later or did I say 28 days later? I'm getting confused. But I mean 28 weeks later. 28 Days Later was very superior to this one. All I'm going to say is watch the original and then you'll see what I'm talking about. I'm going to have to give this a D. I feel like when it comes to sequels, when it comes to like continuations of the original, because I know people are going to say you're giving this a damn good low rating. Well, that's because I expect highly from sequels. And people are going to say, well, the creativity of Hollywood is gone. This movie was made in 2007. I was 17 years old. There's no excuse. Even if it came out recently, that does not mean that I should not give it low praise. I just feel like if you're going to do a continuation of a movie or a series, what's the point if you're not going to be full, if you're not going to have full devotion, full dedication of what made the original good? If you're not going to have that same energy, then leave the fucking thing alone. Well, that's all I have to say for today. Please stay tuned for more upcoming reviews and videos headed your way. This is your, you know what, I'm sorry. My last video I posted, I was not really feeling it. I forgot to tell you guys, I'm feeling better now. I'm back on motion. I'm back on track. My mind was completely gone. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, I'll put the link up below after the video. But yeah, like when it comes to me, my I be like unfocused for a little bit, but then I just pick myself back up pretty quickly. It doesn't take that long. But anyway, you guys take it easy.